All right. Good morning, Chair Postman, members, Garrett, Volendroff, staff, and guests. The lobbies are open and the recording has begun.
Thanks, Justin. We will convene the Liquor and Cannabis Board meeting for Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. Our first item up is a review and decision on the sports entertainment facilities pilot program. We've got a series of people to present, but I'm just going to turn it over to Nicola Reed, our compliance and adjudication manager, who will run the show. Good morning.
Good morning. So good morning, Chair Postman, Board Member Garrett and Volendroff. Today we are here with a team effort to do a presentation on sports entertainment facilities, more so the pilot programs and how those operate and the collaboration that occurs between the licensees and our agency. Before we get started though, we would like to introduce ourselves. So my name is Nicola Reed, Compliance and Adjudications Manager in Licensing.
Good morning. I am Ed Goins, Chief Legal Officer for Lumen Field and First and Goal.
Good to see you.
Good morning. Russell Finizzi, the Director of Operations for Libra Restaurants in partnership with First and Goal at Lumen Field.
Great.
Good morning. Brian Cavery, Vice President of Food and Beverage for Climate Pledge Arena.
Thanks for coming.
Jennifer Zube, Captain in Enforcement here at the Liquor Cannabis Board out of Seattle.
Good morning, Joe Rademacher, Compliance Consultant with the Licensing Division.
Yeah, go ahead, Brooke.
Hi, I'm Brooke Davies. I work as a consultant with the Kraken and the Climate Pledge Arena.
I'm Dave Malone, an attorney with Miller Malone and Tellison, with representing Libby and First and Goal.
Great.
So enforcement and licensing staff have worked directly with representatives from Levy at Lumen Field and Climate Pledge Arena. We have worked collaboratively throughout their pilot program. And so we worked with these two arenas to do a presentation together because both are still actively within a pilot program and we would be coming forward for consideration of the pilot program anyways. Next slide, Dustin, thank you. Okay, so the history of pilot programs and why they are allowed. Unlike most license types, the sports entertainment facility rule does have a clause where if a level of service is not included in the matrix and rule, that you can petition the board for consideration for an increased level of alcohol service. And so it's per WAC 314-02058. If alcohol service is requested out of the parameters below, requests can be submitted to the board for consideration and justification of why the increased alcohol service level is being asked for. And if you click on that grid, I just wanted to show you quickly what it does look like in rule.
Just give me 1 second.
No problem. So if you scroll down, Justin, that is the matrix. And so basically on the left-hand side, it goes through the different types of events that could happen at a sports entertainment facility, whether it be professional sporting, amateur entertainment, private events, things of that nature. And then throughout the chart, it has an X in the level of service that can occur at each type of event. So for example, hawking, which is where someone will walk around selling beer throughout the stands. That's only allowed at professional sporting events. So I just wanted you to see and get an idea of what the rule looked like and how a licensee knows where they fall within the parameters of what's in rule. So to date, we have had 4 pilot programs. The first was in 2019. With T-Mobile Park. They were in a pilot program for a couple of years and they're now in permanent status. We still have 3 active pilot programs, so Levy at Lumen Field, Climate Pledge Arena, and the University of Washington. Some of the levels of service primarily asked for would be pre-made canned cocktails of 8% or less ABV, batch cocktails. I think it is Levy at Lumen Field has wine hawking. So there's some different levels of service that can come before the board for consideration. If a request comes in, licensing will get feedback from prevention, enforcement, the licensee. We also will seek approval from the local jurisdiction and police department, just ensuring that the increased level of service does not cause any concern for public safety. On August 3rd of 2022, the board signed off on a paper delegating the consideration and approval of canned cocktail requests to be able to go through licensing and the director. So if approved, there is a collaboration of open line of communication. We will meet frequently to go through the pilot program request. We then will meet after consideration and if approved, halfway through the program. So usually around the 6-month mark. Staff will be present from enforcement, licensing, sometimes prevention, and then of course, stakeholders for the licensee. And we just talk about how the program is going and if there's any changes or areas that we need to improve. We then at the 1-year mark will meet again, and that's when we will do the consideration paper to come before you today. So I am going to hand it over to Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you. So can we go back to that slide? So when we're out there enforcement, we go out there, we visit these locations, and so we're looking for example, the 8% cocktails or less. We're looking for overservice. Was there a change from previous years and this year? All 3 of those locations seem to appear to be doing very well. So that wasn't an issue for us. Assisted checkout, I'm going to comment on Climate Pledge. I know that we've witnessed the process. I know like Nicola has gone there and she'll report back just on her own personal time. She reports back, hey, I saw that. It's kind of cool. So we do take input from all of that. University of Washington, they are on the 3rd pilot. And so the reason is the first year might have been a tough year for them. But every year they have been getting better and stuff. So at all of these locations, we have done a tremendous amount of ID checks. I think at like one location, maybe 90 ID checks. And what we're finding is a lot of fake IDs, not necessarily. So we cannot, it's not about holding them accountable, but there's educational opportunities, but that's a really tough one to, for the clerks or bartenders to find. So, and so in the beginning, it was just whether we were going to go check, what are we going to do with these locations? And so we met with licensing on what is it we're going to kind of report on. So we got together and devised a plan on when we're going through the pilot program. Since it's a pilot, we want to have more visits to make sure that we don't have problems later or complications. And so we came up, I don't need to read them to you, but they don't just do soccer games, football games, baseball games. So they do other things. So we make sure that we're committed to visiting them at their locations during those times, but we also go to concerts and other events. So the climate or the clientele may change. So we just want to make sure that overall it's been a good practice. Okay.
Thank you once again, Brian with Climate Pledge Arena. So Climate Pledge Arena, we opened in October of 2021, but our relationship with the board went back to early 2020. We were trying to just get our overall plan and scope for all our types of services at the arena. And we worked with the board to kind of figure out every step we have and where it falls in line with it now and kind of what we want with this pilot program. So that was with our batch cocktails, the canned cocktails, then also the assisted self-checkout. We worked together with them over the course of a year plus. First in-person meeting, then moving to virtual with COVID times and all that. Lots of back and forth, and just worked to figure out a plan that would work best for everyone. We even brought in Toshiba, which is a manufacturer for our self-checkout, to kind of help walk the board through to see how the system would work with ID verification steps. This kind of helped put together a plan for us moving forward to allow us to do this types of service, which has been great. We're over 3 million fans to the arena now, and very few issues. We very open line communication with the board to come in. They come in quite often for checks on the space, full access to our security cameras if they want to look into any of that. And it's been a great communication back and forth. We've kind of, even now since we've been through this program, been still working together just with any issues or questions we have between myself with the arena, our concessionaire, even the Kraken hockey team. There's lots of questions. And just a few weeks ago, we got together some of the board just to discuss what can and cannot happen, just so we're all on the same page, which has been a nice kind of back and forth and helping everyone out there.
Russell Finney with Levy Restaurants at Lumen Field. One thing I'd like to talk about as the pilot program has kind of gone over time, we've developed a really wonderful relationship with the captain and some of the lieutenants that come in. It's great, informative visits. We open them, we welcome them openly, not just some of our large events, but also some of our smaller events in the event center next door, and whatever it is. We've been really, really fortunate to have a great, strong back and forth. As we have entered into our ready to drink cocktail program, and as we have kind of rolled out our batch cocktail spirits, the captain especially has been instrumental in educating us and helping us make the right decisions. And so we are putting forth a wonderful plan. So that has been a great plus for us as this program has kind of evolved.
Chair Postman, members Zollendorf and Garrett. Ed Goins again from First and Goal, Lumen Field. I'm actually entering this is my 10th season with the team. And I gotta say, in the 10 years since I've been here, I've seen a stark improvement in relations between our venue and the staff. I remember just story that when I first got here, I'd get calls from our operations team saying, LCB enforcement is on staff, or LCB enforcement staff is on site. What do we do? What do we do? And now it's more, hey, they're on site and we have conversation. We talk, we learn. So we're pleased with the relationship. We're pleased with the engagement. I think the pilot programs have gone well. I feel as though with these sort of large capacity SEFs, from our on-site security, local, state, federal, all of our technology, our high definition cameras, the trained staff of thousands of people who are trained, that we can make quick adjustments when there are issues and that are brought to our attention. I will say that I think the pilot program framework is so good that we could start to think about increasing levels of service, perhaps using the pilot program. The NFL has it's called a Voice of the Fan survey that sends out to a percentage of game goers every game, after every game. And food and beverage is almost always up top with, whatever. There's a lot of things about food and beverage that people complain about. But one of the most consistent ones is this notion of not being able to have a mixed drink sort of in the general bowl. The pilots have relieved some of that pressure because we've got a few pre-batch, but sort of just a cocktail, whereas they sit next to their friend who's a beer or wine drinker, they're able to sit in the bowl enjoying the beer or wine, but the cocktail person has to stand in some sort of restricted beer garden area, missing the game. I've heard comments about, I bought tickets to the game to watch the game live, not to watch it on TV because I drink my cocktail. So I'd love to be able to, given our capacity, given our technology, to look at doing a pilot around allowing spirits in the bowl with safety measures that we think are reasonable. And I'd love to see that as a pilot as well, given how well things have gone. And then be great to move on to other sort of technology based improvements as well. So just so far, I guess the bottom line is we're very, very, very pleased. We'd love to use this framework going forward.
Thanks.
Okay, so moving forward. So it was important for us today to come together and present. It's really been a partnership throughout the pilot programs. It's been great. I know as an agency, we want stakeholder engagement and the communication to be open and the lines of communication. And it really has turned more into just enforcement showing up and, staff going up to enforcement and not trying to figure out the other way around. All of our check-ins really keep open dialogue, communication, ideas can be given back and forth. The licensees have always been so receptive to any feedback from enforcement. or licensing or different things that we think could be done to improve public safety, even in the little things, you know. And so for moving forward, we want to continue this collaboration with the sports and entertainment facilities. We do understand they are a unique business model due to the capacity of people that can attend and the events they hold, and just how big they are within the city or local jurisdiction they're in. Sports and entertainment facilities have a desire to continue the partnership moving forward. To date, this has been a positive experience for all of us, and we look forward to continuing and doing more of these. Together, we're exploring also the concept of scheduling quarterly meetings with enforcement, prevention, licensing, and representatives from the sports and entertainment facilities. We thought this was occurring already, and it doesn't seem like it is. We might move forward and get that going ourselves. And I know that, you know, in discussions, everyone has been really interested in doing that. Another, you know, our collaboration, we had a operating plan, which is required by the rule. And it was pretty outdated, been around for a long time. So we worked on a new template, and now we're engaging representatives and getting their feedback. And then we're going to meet and it just shows like having the conversations, working together, it just brings more success for everyone. And they're the ones completing the plan. So their feedback would be, you know, instrumental in ensuring that's accurate moving forward. And so we wanted to thank you for allowing us to present today. And before I pass it over to Joe Rademacher, I wanted to know if you had any questions I could answer for you. And we would answer as a team, all of us.
Well, I'm not sure what Joe's, I mean, two quick questions. One, can you remind us of what, I think the captain isn't here, but what was the feedback you got from local law enforcement?
Yes.
In both these cases and others?
Yes, and so Joe will come up after if you have any questions, and he'll present the decision papers and go over the feedback we got for each
That's
location.
my other
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Great.
Yep.
All right.
All that data, yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Jim's got a question. Member Volendra.
First of all, I want to thank you for the presentation, and Nicola, for you and your staff and the collaboration that you've developed with the industry. You know, I go to a lot of sporting events, and I think that the reality is that alcohol is part of the game day experience for a lot of fans. And the vast majority of people who consume alcohol don't have a problem with alcohol. And what I've seen is the more we have partnered and the more that we've been creative, the less problems I've seen at these types of events. And so I think it's been a great collaboration, and I want to thank all of our partners and organizations that have been working with us. One thing that I have mentioned, and I'd like to just go on record as saying, is that I also would be very interested in us partnering with the industry, with the University of Washington perhaps, or Washington State University, and our own research team, and develop best practice approaches that we can share nationally with other organizations of how do you in this space provide alcohol in a safe manner and in a way in which you are minimizing problems, and develop these best practice approaches to share. I'd be very interested in that, and the idea of quarterly meetings is very interesting to me, and I think it would demonstrate further collaboration and ways for us to share information across organizations that are large venues like this. The area of fake IDs I'm super interested in. I would love to think about, well, given the reality of the number of fake IDs out there, is there a innovative way in which we can approach minimizing that, given the large number that we're seeing? I don't know that there is or isn't, but fake IDs I think are a problem in general, and trying to figure out a creative way to address them would be something I'd be interested in having further conversation. And I guess that's it. I think those are my final comments. So thank you. I really appreciate the presentation quite a bit.
The fake IDs, the comment, that was about UW, correct?
That's
Or-
throughout
I think it was
all three.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
throughout bars,
Interesting.
stadiums.
Okay.
And it's easier to focus on the smaller locations because you can talk one-on-one with the bartenders. But when you're at a stadium, there's so many employees that
Yeah.
once you educate, a new one comes in. And so the
Yeah.
education efforts are
Okay, thank you.
Part of the problem with the fake IDs, right, Jennifer, is that they're so.
They're great.
They're really.
They're so good.
They're
Yeah.
just so good, yeah.
Yeah.
And Thank you, Member Vollendorf. I did want to say the quarterly meeting. So initially you had brought that idea up. We thought it was a great idea, and we looked out into the sports and entertainment facility licensees, and we thought there was one occurring, but we haven't gotten feedback on it. So then we thought, let's just get one going ourselves. Find licensees and stakeholders that would like to participate, ensure we have prevention, enforcement, licensing, maybe yourself if you'd like, at the table. And that would be to talk about best practices, trends, what we're seeing out there, and just things we can do that we could work with together and then present out to the community and the board and other stakeholders for sure.
That would be great. I have couple of follow-up things. One is when I have toured some of the facilities, I've heard really great things. First of all, overall, I've heard really great things. I have heard some challenges with access by enforcement, that it's easier in some, not necessarily that it's bad in others, but that it's easier when they show up, that we've got the relationship where it's quicker for them to access the facilities. So I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know whether that's an issue or not. The other thing that I wanted to briefly talk about is I was interested in the biometrics and conversations around biometrics and what the future of all of that holds. And I was also curious if there's any trends, like when I went to the facilities, I always looked at other like facilities across the country to look at their alcohol policies and then compared the two. I'm really interested what the facilities are seeing in terms of national trends, things that are happening elsewhere that perhaps they'd like to see happen in Washington state. So those are my final comments.
Thank you, Member Vollendorf. One of the things we are going to do is reach out to NCSLA, the liquor conference, and we are going to ask them, of the sports arenas, do any of them allow for biometrics, and if so, what their rules are, so we can start to get an idea. But also that is a great resource to look into other questions and to see what other trends are in the other states, for sure.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to, before I pass it over to Joe, give a special thank you to Member Vollendorf for planting this idea in our minds. We've really enjoyed working together. And then also to Licensing Director Smith and Enforcement Director Watts for being so supportive and helping us in these efforts. So thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Joe Rademacher now.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Postman, board members Vollendorf and Garrett. I'm Joe Rademacher, Licensing Compliance Specialist with the Licensing Division. As a closing to our SEF pilot program presentation, I'm here to request consideration from the board regarding the current pilot programs for Climate Pledge Arena and Levy at Lumen Field. First is the pilot program for Climate Pledge Arena. This facility has been in a pilot program since September 2021. This pilot allows exceptions to their authorized levels of service to include pre-made batch spirits cocktails and low-proof pre-made batch canned cocktails, both 8% ABV or less, and assisted checkout for non-alcoholic products. Over the course of the past year, we've worked closely with representatives of Climate Pledge, our enforcement team, and our public health and safety liaison to evaluate their performance with these additions. We have also sought input from the Seattle Police Department and the City of Seattle. In the past calendar year, enforcement has made 22 premises checks to Climate Pledge Arena and have found staff to be responsive to any feedback and performing with public safety in mind. The arena has state-of-the-art security features along with 0 violations since initial approval. They have shown that the licensee takes alcohol control seriously and public safety seriously as well. Climate Pledge and their representatives have also been very responsive to licensing staff as we have conducted this re-evaluation, providing requested information quickly and showing a willingness to act. Both the Seattle Police and the City of Seattle have voiced their support of Climate Pledge Arena's current operations as they stand. After discussions regarding Climate Pledge Arena with enforcement, our public health liaison, and the licensee regarding our findings, we feel that they have done very well to operate successfully with public safety in mind. And we would like to recommend the board consider making these exceptions to levels of service an approved part of their operating plan and end the pilot program. The licensee and our agency have an understanding that should there be any negative impacts in the future due to these exceptions, we have the authority to remove these exceptions and require them to return to a standard level of service. Chair Postman, board members, if you have any questions regarding this pilot program and our recommendation, we'd be happy to answer them.
Joe, just again to refresh everyone's memory. As I recall, when you came forward with the last update, the feedback was, you had no negative feedback.
Absolutely.
That's
Yes,
my
City of
memory correct,
Seattle's-
Of either facility.
Neither facility, correct.
Okay.
City of Seattle, as well as the police department and our enforcement team, have all had positive feedback throughout.
Okay, that's great. Any other questions from the board?
I have no further questions.
Okay.
Second is the pilot program for Lumen Field. This facility has been licensed under Levy Premium Food Services since September of 2020, and we initiated a pilot program with them late in 2021. This pilot allows exceptions to their authorized levels of service to include pre-made batch spirit cocktails, low proof, pre-made canned spirit cocktails, and the addition of wine to hawking. Over the course of the past year, we've worked closely with representatives of Levy, our enforcement team, and our public health and safety liaisons to evaluate Levy's performance with these additions. We've also sought input from the City of Seattle, and the Seattle Police Department as well. In the past calendar year, enforcement has made 4 premises checks at Lumen Field and have found the staff to be responsive to their findings and performing with public safety in mind. Across the 8 licensed premises that Levy operates to include Lumen Field, they have 0 violations on record and take alcohol control and public safety very seriously. Levy and their representatives have also been very responsive to licensing staff as we have conducted this reevaluation, providing the requested information quickly and showing a willingness to act on our findings when necessary. Both the Seattle Police and City of Seattle have voiced their support of Levy's current operations. The board decision paper and attachments on Levy's pilot provided to you speak to the success and support from those who have participated in the review. After discussions with enforcement, our public health liaison, the license